Alright friends, welcome to Frag-Jitsu, where we talk about fragrances and I share my journey. Purpose of this channel is for me to just chronicle my journey and just keep it down to earth. So today we're going to cover a little review about Chergui from Serge Lutens. Now about halfway done with this bottle, almost half. I think that that's an appropriate time to speak on the fragrance. I've had this for less than a year surprisingly, and I've worn it a lot this year. This is one of my most worn Serge Lutens, second to Santo Majuscule, and one of my top favorites from the house. I'd say if you ask me on any given day, this is probably one of my top 5, revolving with a few that might knock each other in and out, right? So this one definitely at the higher end, and as my fragrance collection goes, this is one of the better wearable niche fragrances that I have. It's very easy for me to wear this and almost to anything, family events. It's got a really versatile use case in my opinion. So let's talk about some of the context about this fragrance. 2005 release. It's a semi-legendary, if not fully legendary fragrance in my opinion. A lot of the niche community already understands the significance of this fragrance, coming out in the year 2005. At the same time as another Desert Wind briefed fragrance came out called L'air du Desert Marocain from Andy Tower. Now it's going to be a whole video on its own to compare the two of these, but I'm not going to. These are different smelling fragrances for sure, and they have a similar brief, and they came out in the similar year by 2 different perfumers in niche houses. So do what you will with that. There's probably a rabbit hole to go down, but the purpose of this video is just to get you a comprehensive review of where this stands. So Chergui, whether or not you want to try it, maybe you had an idea, maybe you're just looking for a fragrance, maybe you have this already and you just want to hear my thoughts, let's get into it a little bit. So the presentation on these, when you get a Serge Lutens fragrance, it's actually quite unique. You do get a regular old box with the name on the front, Serge Lutens, kind of sheen matte black. There's a little bit of a texture to it. Nothing really crazy, but my favorite thing that stands out when you open one of these, and if you guys have a Serge Lutens, you probably know what I'm about to say. You have to break a seal, take off the top, and then you get to screw this on yourself. And something about this process for me sort of gives away what their intention is and why these fragrances exist and who they're there for. When you put your downstem in, when you put your atomizer in and you screw it on yourself, there is just this tiny symbolic act here. Something about it connects you more to being into fragrance, right? It's just a very small thing, and it could be like something you don't even think about, but there's something that connected you to putting this bottle together. And I think that that to me is the first thing that kind of went over my head about this house. But after having a bunch of these, I started looking forward to opening one and putting that in and, dropping the atomizer in and screwing it on. Something about that, such a joy. I really enjoy it. I understand that there's a risk though. You could spill this while that's open, right? So yeah, it might not seal really great for a lot of people too, but I've never had a problem with these, and I throw them in my backpack and stuff all the time. I'm a little bit chaotic though. So yeah, this fragrance serves me very well. I do think that that experience of unboxing these is very, very cool, and I think that it's symbolic to, their care for you as a person who are into fragrances. They did that for a reason, whether it's practical or not. I mean, there is some kind of meaning there, and I just think that immediately upon dropping that atomizer in and screwing it on yourself, something deeper happens, better connection with the fragrance. You're part of its creation in a way. Now, to speak on its creation, Christopher Sheldrake's the perfumer for this house, and I really think that his stuff is, to me, gold standard. The profiles that he throws down with, really, really good stuff, and I actually appreciate them only writing a few notes, really, in their briefs and stuff. When they give the consumer information, they only put like 3 notes. So I would say Christopher Sheldrake's style is just, it's one of those minimalist styles that really just accomplishes what it's setting out to do in a efficient but sort of cleverly done way. Everything he's got that I've smelled, I have many, many bottles from them at this point, they have this distinct sort of proprietary kind of signature to them. A lot of them have this signature, and it's sort of a sweetness, ambery sweetness thing, but it's just the way these are all put together. It's almost like this color palette that he could use and change a little bit, but there is this common theme in a lot of these fragrances that I just so enjoy. I think something about his perfumery in its more minimalistic aspects, not that there's not a lot going on here, because there is, but he just lets these features, these very simple features come together and be complex with each other in such a way that sometimes it's hard to even talk about these because you can't really pull out any one thing. For instance, let's talk about how this smells. So you get this sweet, dusty, warm, dried tobacco a little bit, but it stays away from that sort of traditional kind of overdone tobacco smell. You don't get that at all. You don't get like a humidor or cigar shop in any way. It's more like a dried, browned, old, dusty leaf just in the background, and then the main show is this dry, honeyed, like hayed, ambery thing. Like hay, honey, amber, beautifully done, warm, dry, smoky, alluring. And it has this irisy, powdery, dry thing that sort of meets all these other dry facets, and they kind of come together to be this one big, fresh, dry facet. And man, what a deep, sweet, and amazing fragrance. It's a delight to wear. And I'd say in the dry down, it's even more round, right? It's just a deep, easy to get lost in, but simple fragrance, right? They only tell you 3 notes. And I just appreciate the less is more approach in this situation, right? Some fragrances write 700 notes, and you can like try to pick them all out and go through different processes of confirmation bias or whatnot to say, oh, I smell that, I smell this, I smell that. But this is just like saying, hey, there's these 3 things here, and they're gonna morph and play and do all of these different aspects. I understand there's way more than just 3 notes in these. There's probably a whole bunch of accords that he's just not telling us. I would say there might be a floral accord in this as well. There might be more than just what I'm explaining in my note breakdown that I'm giving. Practically speaking, without talking about notes, you're getting a handsome fragrance. Handsome, warm, kind of glowing, but fresh from this dry, powdery thing. Really, really nice stuff. I don't think this is a tobacco fragrance, in my opinion. It doesn't really have a slap in the face tobacco smell, but it's there, right? The texture of it's there. It kind of has this like silhouette of it. Very interesting to me. And you could spend a long, long time talking about how these fragrances smell. It's a very difficult thing to do. You should try this fragrance. And especially so if you've smelled a few of these that I'm about to show you. So if you've tried, you guys out there want to reach across the table who are not really fully invested into niche, but I know a lot of people have tried this, so I want to say this fragrance, Dolce & Gabbana the one, EDT or EDP, or even some of the other ones, but mostly this one, it has a similar thing. It just has something similar. They're different, but it has this overall sort of vibe, guys. It has a similar use case, presentation, feeling. I don't know, something about it. It even does have some similar aspects in the smell, right? That warm, handsome, fresh, just great smell without being blue, without being showery, without any of that stuff. It's one of the better smelling fragrances that I've come across in my early times with fragrance. This was the first fragrance that I got that got me into fragrances, by the way. This was the first one. And I think that Chergui, for me, is a symbolic natural progression from this. But I think that I could use this and Chergui almost interchangeably, in my opinion. The way I like to use these fragrances, I think also Dior Homme Intense, for me, I could sub these out and get a very similar experience, if not the same use cases out of all of these. They're very versatile, very nice smelling fragrances, but there's a lot more to them. They're not like traditionally boring. There's not a heap of amber woods in them. There's not a lot of synthetic stuff in them at all. There is a little bit of a synthetic thing going on in this, but it's really, for me, if you overspray it, it does have a freshness to it. And I think that you guys who have tried Dolce & Gabbana the one should just sample Chergui. It's something similar in my opinion. Some people will disagree with me. I also think if you've tried Bulgari Men in Black, I think if you tried this, you should also try Chergui. I deliberately picked designer fragrances because I know that a lot of you guys out there have tried these. And I think Chergui is somewhere down the road from these. It's somewhere in the same vicinity, right? It's not quite the same thing, and I don't even want to compare them. I'd say this one is much more spicy and much less sweet and doesn't have any of that powdery sort of nature. That it might have a little bit of this powdery nature in a similar way, but Chergui has this feature of this hay-like accord, like this hay-like texture to it. which I do so enjoy. And I think that that hay-like texture is even more apparent in something like Amber Sultan, which really features that to a higher degree, in my opinion. It's almost like an immortelle. It's almost like an immortelle spiciness, in my opinion. But yeah, Amber Sultan is another one that's a little bit more on the extreme side, a bit more experimental, a bit more niche, or a bit more challenging than Chergui, right? Out of all of the Serge stuff, actually, Amber Sultan's one of my top 2 favorites. So yeah, definitely check that out if you want something a little bit more exotic, in my opinion, in the spicy amber category. But that dried hay accord that's in that also is very apparent in this one. But in this one, it's sort of woven into there. It doesn't stand out as much, and it's hard to pull apart that dry facet from that dusty, warm, ambery facet as well, and this fresh, sort of overall enjoyable smell. Very handsome. This fragrance does a lot for me, in my opinion. It's going to be in that category of fragrances that I put called Forever Fragrances. I know it's kind of a corny sound, but that is something that I've started to compile a list of my Forever Fragrances. And I want that to be a limited list, you know, a certain size. I'm not sure what the size is, as I'm just figuring out now some of these fragrances that I always want to have. And I always will want to have Chergui, personally speaking. I don't want to hype it. I don't want to push a hype train and get you guys all excited for something. This is just entirely personal for me. This does make it onto my Forever Fragrance catalog. It makes it into that. I will have to always get a backup bottle if I do run out of this. In fact, I have started backing up my Serge fragrances. If you guys saw my last review of Santal Majuscule, I got a big backup bottle of that. This one is backup worthy as well. So, all in all, I do really enjoy this fragrance. I admire the perfumer. I like everything about it. It's just a really easy wear for me. It can give you the imaginative experience if you do so enjoy that. You can go down that road, but also use case wise, it has that as well. It just smells good. It really is good. I love it. It's really, really good. People who like Diorum Intense, even Diorum Parfum at some point, people who like the fragrances that I've mentioned, even if you like Mancero's Red Tobacco, this is much different, if not better, in my opinion. I like this better, obviously. It's much less synthetic, right? Or much less sharp smelling. This has a round, sort of well put together presentation to it in the smell category. The smell is very, very good, in my opinion. It smells cohesive. It smells interesting. It smells measured. It smells like they put some effort and time into what's coming out here. It doesn't smell like it's trying to cater to everyone either, but it just so happens to be one of those fragrances that's just really, really good while still maintaining its own identity. And I think that this is a valuable fragrance for any enthusiast, really, to have smelled at least, if not to have owned, if you want to have some kind of a niche fragrance that you could actually wear to a lot of different things. I wear this on holidays. I wear this out to dinners. I wear this to a lot of different things. This is a date night fragrance if you guys are into that kind of category. I don't know if that's necessarily really a universal category, but yeah, this could be easily worked into a date or some kind of an outing in any way, you know, with your friends, doesn't matter. So this is a great fragrance. I'm not going to beat it to death. I do really enjoy it. I think that I would have to rate this fragrance to, you know, the highest marks. There's nothing that I could fault about this fragrance. If it was stronger in performance, I probably wouldn't like it as much. Its performance is just what it needs to be for its profile. It's like playing this song at the perfect volume that it's supposed to be at. This thing, it's not weak. It's not overly strong in beast mode. It's just right there. It's just perfectly done. You get your 7 hours out of it, 6 to 7 hours out of it, and then it's just sort of low on the skin, and it smells really good. If anybody gives you a hug, you're going to smell like a spicy, handsome, ambery, sweet lad, right? It's going to be amazing. It's a great smell. So I'd put this more in the winter fragrance category as well, fall, winter, but I actually started wearing this in summer and it was just no problem at all. So overall, this ambery, warm, spicy, dry, dusty, hay-like fragrance with a little bit of this dried tobacco thing and some kind of floral going on, like a rose maybe. Really great stuff. And overall, definitely check out the Serge Lutens house, especially if you guys are looking for some kind of affordable entry point into niche. This is it right here. That's done. They are going to stop shipping to the US for some amount of time. They announced it, Serge Lutens announced it, so I've been scooping these up. You know, I want to get them before they're tripling in price. So for right now, in the recent history, these have been these 50 mLs and 100 mLs you can get for around the 100 and less mark. I've seen them at 130, and they're worth that price as well, in my opinion. So price point, performance, all of it, all those metrics really measure up for me to a very recommendable fragrance for you guys out there who are concerned about those metrics. If you're not concerned with those metrics and you're just into like an interesting fragrance that smells great and it's wearable, please check out Serge Lutens Chergui. All right, guys, hopefully this was helpful to you guys and you guys had a good time and you kind of have a good idea now whether or not you want to get this, whether you're into it or not. Let me know in the comments if you guys have tried this fragrance. If you go ahead and try this fragrance after this video, please let me know. I want to hear some feedback about Mr. Chergui here. So I really appreciate the views. Definitely talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.